People come here expecting ghost stories, but what they might discover about tonight's subject is far darker than anything they could imagine. For over a century, Waverly Hills has stood as a monument to suffering and the backdrop for some of the most compelling paranormal stories ever documented. Shadow figures, disembodied voices, and full-body apparitions witnessed by nurses, patients, and modern-day paranormal investigators. But how much of this is real? What part of it is just legend? And what does recorded history actually say happened there? Tonight we explore Waverly Hills Sanatorium, its true history, its human tragedy, and the chilling stories there that refuse to be silenced. Let's begin. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, located in Louisville, Kentucky, began as a small two-story wooden hospital in 1910, built to treat the region's growing number of tuberculosis patients. At the time, Jefferson County was hit especially hard by TB, then called the White Plague, and Waverly Hills was created as a self-contained community where patients could receive what was considered cutting-edge treatment for the era: fresh air, rest, and nutrition. The remote hilltop location was chosen for its clean air and isolation, and the grounds soon expanded as the disease spread rapidly through the population. By the 1920s, the original building could no longer handle the patient load, leading to the construction of the massive 5-story brick structure that still stands today. Completed in 1926, it could house more than 400 patients and was considered one of the most advanced TB hospitals in the country because it was not just a hospital, it was a center for experimental tuberculosis treatments. In the early 20th century, TB had no effective cure, so doctors used what was then considered advanced therapy: fresh air, heliotherapy or sunlight exposure, and surgical procedures like thoracoplasty, which involved removing ribs to collapse infected lungs. Many patients experienced extreme pain from these surgeries, which contributed to the sanatorium's grim reputation. During the 1930s, the hospital's patient load and financial strain grew considerably. Many patients were impoverished and relied on the state for care, which led to overcrowding and understaffing, an important factor in the hospital's high mortality rate. When antibiotics were introduced in the 1940s and TB cases sharply declined, the sanatorium's purpose faded. Waverly Hills officially closed as a tuberculosis hospital in 1961. A year later, it reopened as Woodhaven Geriatric Center, a long-term care facility that quickly developed a reputation for overcrowding, understaffing, substandard conditions, and alleged patient neglect, issues not uncommon among state-run facilities of that period. Woodhaven shut down in 1982, leaving the building abandoned and vulnerable to decay, vandalism, and urban legends. Over time, its imposing Gothic architecture and tragic medical history helped transform Waverly Hills from a medical relic into one of America's most famous sites of reported paranormal activity, drawing investigators, tourists, and storytellers from around the world. Waverly Hills isn't haunted by just one spirit. There's a cast of restless presences, according to those who've explored the building. Room 502 is often cited as one of the most active and emotionally charged locations inside the building, and many believe it holds one of the sanatorium's darkest stories. Among the thousands of patients and staff who pass through its doors, there is one story that has refused to fade into history: the story of a young nurse who is often referred to as Mary Hillenberg, but whose presence is said to linger in the shadows of these hallways. According to long-standing legend, Room 502 was the place where the nurse allegedly took her own life in 1928, though no official records confirm this. The story claims she discovered she was pregnant, possibly by a doctor or staff member, and, overwhelmed by shame and fear, hung herself from a light fixture or a pipe inside the room. Another variation of the tale suggests a second tragedy occurred there. Another nurse supposedly jumped from the window years later. These accounts remain unverified, but they have shaped the room's reputation as a center of emotional distress as well as unexplained activity. Visitors frequently report feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness or panic upon entering Room 502, sometimes so strongly that they have to leave abruptly. Others claim to hear disembodied voices, footsteps, or the faint sound of a woman crying. Shadow figures are often seen moving just beyond the doorway, and several investigators have captured sudden spikes in EMF readings even when no electrical sources are present. Some groups also report hearing the phrase "get out" whispered from inside the room, a chilling detail repeated by multiple visitors over the years. Whether the room's energy is the product of its tragic lore or something more unexplainable, Room 502 remains one of Waverly Hills' most infamous hotspots, fueling both fear and fascination among those who dare to step inside. Some researchers point out there is no contemporaneous records confirming the suicides or even its structural possibility. For example, the light fixture couldn't support a hanging. Another of the most frequently reported spirits at Waverly Hills is the apparition known as Timmy, said to be the ghost of a young boy who allegedly died at the sanatorium during the tuberculosis era. According to popular accounts, Timmy was around 6 or 7 years old, a patient whose short life was marked by illness and long periods of confinement in the massive hospital. Visitors and paranormal investigators claim that he lingers primarily on the 3rd floor, where shadowy figures and unexplained movements are often reported. The most distinctive part of Timmy's legend is that he is believed to be playful. Guests routinely bring balls or toys, and many insist they have seen a ball roll on its own, bounce slightly across the hallway, or shift direction without anyone touching it. While no medical records confirm a child named Timmy ever stayed or died at Waverly Hills, his story has become one of its most enduring pieces of lore, a symbol of innocent life caught in the middle of a place known for immense suffering. Whether Timmy was ever real or is simply the product of years of storytelling, his presence continues to draw curiosity, sympathy, and countless investigations from those who hope to encounter the sanatorium's most childlike ghost. One of the most consistently reported phenomena at Waverly Hills is the appearance of shadow figures, dark, human-shaped silhouettes that seem to move through hallways, doorways, and patient rooms. They frequently roam the 4th floor, crawling shapes, dark masses, or people seen in old nursing uniforms. Investigators often describe them as unusually solid compared to typical shadow play, with distinct outlines that sometimes appear to peek around corners, cross open doorways, or follow quietly behind visitors. The long, dim corridors of the abandoned sanatorium amplify the effect, but many witnesses insist these figures behave in ways that defy simple explanation. Some report sudden darting movements, others claim the shapes seem to grow taller or shift direction against the light, and a few describe the unnerving sense of being watched from multiple door frames at once. Although no scientific explanation has been confirmed, The combination of Waverly Hills' massive size, its heavy history of death, and its maze-like architecture has made these shadowy apparitions one of its most unsettling and widely discussed supernatural legends. Another well-known spirit reported at Waverly Hills is that of a ghostly cook who is said to linger in the old kitchen area. Visitors and investigators claim that, despite the room being long abandoned and partially collapsed, they have occasionally smelled freshly cooked food, most often bread, soup, or roasted meat, coming from the empty space. Some report hearing the faint clatter of pots or the metallic scrape of utensils, even though the kitchen equipment was removed decades ago. A few witnesses described seeing a shadowy figure dressed like a cook moving between the kitchen doorway and the old cafeteria, as if preparing a meal for patients who will never arrive. While no records identify who this chef might have been, the persistent reports have made him one of Waverly Hills' most intriguing spirits, a quiet, residual presence carrying out a routine long after the living have left. Reports of paranormal activity in the morgue of Waverly Hills are among the most intense and unsettling in the entire building. The room, once used to store the bodies of patients awaiting transport down the Body Chute, still contains original features, including the old gurney rails and several refrigeration units, which add to its eerie atmosphere. Visitors often describe feeling an immediate heaviness upon entering, as though the air itself becomes denser. Some report sudden drops in temperature or a sense of being watched from the dark corners of the room. Others claim they have heard the metallic rattle of old drawers, the squeak of gurney wheels, or faint tapping noises coming from inside the cold storage units, despite the fact that none of them are operational. A few investigators have attempted body drawer experiments, where a volunteer lies inside one of the morgue storage compartments while the rest of the group observes. Many of these volunteers emerge shaken, describing whispers, cold breaths on their face, or the feeling that someone or something was touching their ankles. Shadow figures have also been reported moving near the morgue doorway, as if lingering just out of reach. Whether these experiences are psychological reactions to being in a notoriously morbid space or signs of genuine supernatural presence, the morgue remains one of the most feared and frequently discussed hotspots of activity. To transport deceased patients discreetly, Waverly Hills had a hilly tunnel running from the top floors to the bottom, called the Body Chute, or Death Tunnel. Corpses could be rolled down and loaded onto carts without disturbing living patients. This was a practical solution to prevent infection, as well as easing transport, but it also became a major element in the site's haunted lore. Historically, it reflects both medical practices of the era and the hospital's approach to managing death. But what was once a practical solution has become a place of legend and dread. Those who enter the tunnel today speak of an immediate chill, as if the walls themselves exhale a cold, unrelenting breath. Footsteps echo along the concrete floor, though no one else is there. Shadowy figures dart just beyond the dim light, vanishing when approached. Some visitors report sudden touches, a tug on clothing, the brush of a hand, but turn to see only empty darkness. The tunnel seems to absorb sound, muting voices, swallowing movement. Many who venture inside say the air grows heavy, oppressive, as though the memories of those long gone cling to the walls, unwilling to leave. It's no surprise that the Death Tunnel has become one of Waverly Hills' most feared locations, a place where the past is never truly at rest, and the living feel the constant presence of those who never left. It's important to differentiate between legend and verifiable history, because Waverly Hills' reputation is a mix of both. The often quoted 60,000 plus deaths are likely exaggerated. Historical research suggests there were actually around 8,212 tuberculosis deaths at Waverly Hills. Official mortality data is lacking. Early patient records have been reported missing or lost, but that's likely attributed to institutional closures, shifting ownership, poor archiving, or simply records that were never comprehensively kept or maintained. There are rumors that patients with TB affecting the brain were subjected to electroshock therapy, and this is cause for clarification. Electroconvulsive therapy, its true name, began in the 1930s, but it was primarily used in psychiatric hospitals, not tuberculosis sanatoriums. Waverly Hills never operated as a mental health institution. Its patient population was almost entirely those suffering from tuberculosis. Among the many spirits said to haunt the sanatorium, none carry sorrow as deeply as the weeping woman. She is often heard before she is seen, soft, mournful sobs drifting down the empty hallways, or a low wailing that seems to echo from the very walls. Visitors describe an overwhelming sadness, a weight pressing down on their chest, as if the building itself remembers every life lost within its rooms. Some have glimpsed her form, a shadowy woman dressed in period clothing, face hidden in her hands, wandering aimlessly among the upper floors, vanishing when approached, leaving only the sound of her grief behind. Others feel her presence in the stairwells, near the wards, or around the Body Chute, as if drawn to the places where pain and death were most concentrated. Whether she is the spirit of a nurse, a grieving visitor, or the echo of countless patients, the weeping woman embodies the sorrow that permeates Waverly Hills. She's not a malevolent presence, but a reminder that some grief lingers far beyond the lives it touched. Among these shadows and echoes, some visitors report a presence unlike any other, the ghostly doctor. Dressed in a white coat of a bygone era, he moves silently through the corridors, checking on rooms that no longer hold patients, pacing the halls with the careful, measured steps of someone still fulfilling his duty. Those who do encounter him speak of a profound sense of being watched. Lights flicker as he passes, temperatures drop, and faint footsteps follow even when no one else is near. He's not playful like some spirits, nor overtly malevolent, but his presence carries the weight of responsibility, of lives spent tending the sick, of decades of endless care amid tragedy. Some say he is the residual echo of a doctor who walked these floors long ago, continuing his rounds even after death. Others feel a sense of discipline and authority in the room, a reminder of the countless hours and tireless effort poured into saving lives in a place where death was all too common. So why does Waverly Hills remain a paranormal pilgrimage site? Because it's not just haunted, it's energetically and emotionally charged. The deep suffering that occurred here, combined with the physical architecture, long halls, a hidden tunnel, rooftop patios, creates a deeply uneasy atmosphere. Whether all the stories are true or partially embellished, the legends have grown for a reason. People continue to feel something in its walls, and for some, it's tragedy. For others, it's a connection to souls who never left. Waverly Hills Sanatorium stands as a towering reminder of a painful past, a place of suffering, death, and unanswered questions. Ghost stories, legends, and documented history all swirl together, making it one of the most compelling places in America to explore the intersection of death and the paranormal. If you enjoy deep dives into paranormal cases, subscribe here for more true stories of hauntings, the supernatural, and unexplained phenomena. And in the meantime, remember, stay spooky.